Hello. I am James, and I live in Manchester in the UK. And you're listening to English with a Brew, a podcast where I talk about different day-to-day topics to help you learn English the most natural way possible. And that is only by listening to it. And if you want to support this podcast, read transcripts, and get exclusive access to more episodes, go to patreon.com/English with a Brew. As we say in Manchester, get a brew on, and let's get started. How do you get to work? It's a simple question, no? But the answers can be a little bit more complicated because there are lots of different ways or different modes of transport that you can use to go to work. Perhaps the most obvious one, the obvious way to get to work, is by driving in your car. Here in England, in the UK, it's the most common way for people to travel to work. Currently, or right now, 68% of people in the UK drive to work. Do you drive? Then you can say, for example, it's about 20-30 minutes in the car. Driving is a really practical and easy way to get to work, especially if you live far away from your office or your place of work. You can listen to music on the radio or maybe put on a podcast. But sometimes there is also a lot of traffic on the roads because it's rush hour, when everybody is going to work and school at the same time, and so the roads are super busy. We call that rush hour. It's usually between about 7 and 9 in the morning and 4 and 6 in the afternoon. But what about if you live much closer to where you work? What if you don't need to drive? Apparently, the second most common way to commute, we use the word commute to describe the journey that you make specifically to get to work or to get home after work. The second most common way to commute is by walking or on foot. Personally, I think this is a little more relaxing than driving in the car, so it could be a good option. But what if you don't want to drive or you live too far away to walk? You can take public transport. You could take a bus if there is a bus stop close to your home, or maybe you could take a train from the train station. Here where I live in Manchester, I'm quite lucky, quite fortunate. We have trains and buses. But we also have a different type of train called a tram. It's similar to a train, like a train, but slower. And sometimes it shares the road with the cars. In Manchester, we don't have an underground system or metro. But it's not very common to use the word metro here in the UK. Usually we call it just the London Underground or, for example, the Tube. If I want to go to work on public transport, I need to take both a bus and after that take a tram. Or I can take a train and then after that a tram. It usually takes me about 1 hour and 10 minutes in total. So it's quite convenient, but it's quite slow as well. And the trains can be very busy, full of people, so I can't sit down and I have to stand up the whole way for the complete journey. So how do I get to work? Well, usually I cycle on my bicycle, and that's for lots of reasons, but primarily it's actually the fastest way for me to get to work. It takes the least amount of time, only about 30 minutes or half an hour. But that's not the only reason why I cycle. For me, it's the perfect balance between all of the other options. It's never busy because it's just me on my own with my bicycle. I get to enjoy the fresh air every morning. I exercise and I feel more healthy. And thankfully, I don't have to sit in all of the traffic. So what do you need to get to work by bicycle? All you need is a bicycle and a helmet to protect your head. And maybe for when it's dark in the winter, you need some lights so you can see. Anyway, that's enough about me. How do you get to work? Are there any other ways of getting to work or commuting that I have forgotten? Or maybe you don't need to because you work at home. Let me know. And that's everything for today's episode of English with a Brew. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you did or if you didn't, and tell me which topics you'd like to hear me talk about in future episodes. And don't forget, you can read the transcript for this episode and get access to more exclusive content over on my Patreon page. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever time it is where you are right now. Take care.